Welcome to Opposition Territory here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest-running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. 12 years strong. Great to be in your ears if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other podcast platform. If you're watching us here on YouTube, it's great to see you. We have, from the Locked On Chargers podcast, to dive into this team, what the Chargers have been doing this offseason, and where this coming season may go. With regard to Justin Herbert and company. We've got David Droegemeier, again, from the Locked On Chargers podcast. David, man, thanks so much for jumping on, buddy.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be able to say that I'm a repeat guest at this moment in time. So that means I was actually able to provide some decent commentary for you last time. I always find that to be a compliment. So I'm happy to jump back on and talk about this year's iteration of the Los Angeles Chargers.
The Los Angeles Chargers, as we are looking at this upcoming season, David, they're a fascinating story, I think, in terms of the NFL and what they may do. They've got a head coach who's looking to make his mark again in the NFL. But I really want to dive into the front office first here, because recently on our Opposition Territory podcast here, I've been getting into the vision of various front offices throughout the NFL. So, David, to start us off, I want to first dive into the vision of the Chargers front office and how that vision is being perceived by the fan base. So if you can talk about that vision based on what you and the fan base have seen thus far this season, that would be fantastic. Where's this team going? What is the vision of the front office in terms of the overall picture here?
Well, as you know, this is year 2 of Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz, the new kind of head guys that are in control of the Chargers organization and where they are going. And so with Jim Harbaugh, what he brings to the table is very kind of old school in nature. He wants to beat you up. He wants to get down in the trenches. He wants to get big, physical, ugly type guys to beat the heck out of you for 60 minutes and make you just not want to play football. And the thing is that vision, along with any other vision for a new front office, doesn't happen in a day. Rome was not built in a day, as they say. It takes time to be able to develop that and to be able to get the right type of people in the building to be able to orchestrate that vision the way that he wants it to be. So in year 1, tremendous overhaul. I mean, absolutely tremendous. And I think the biggest one was the culture that he had to change from the Chargers not really knowing how to win consistently to, him at every single level, not only understanding how to build culture, but understanding how to build winners through that culture.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
He's done that from USD to Stanford to the 49ers to Michigan, every single stop that he's been. So he has that pedigree. He has that immediate buy-in, not only as a coach, but he did it at the highest level as a player in the NFL as well. So I think with Jim Harbaugh, when he walks into a room of players, people listen. They are quiet and they listen to what he says. And so that was first and foremost, is trying to change the culture of how the Chargers play football from chargering, finding a way to lose, to finding a way to win consistent ball games. And I think where it started last year was winning the games they were supposed to win. And they did that at a much higher level, obviously going from 5-12 to 11-6 and a playoff berth. Obviously it did not turn out the way they wanted it to, but I think a lot of people need to understand that was year 1, and you can't completely get the vision the way they want it in 1 year. They did a tremendous job to be able to overhaul that roster and get a lot closer. But in year 2, I think it's building upon that vision and also trying to bolster and support Justin Herbert as much as humanly possible. That is definitely what the game plan was for the Chargers this offseason, whether it was in free agency where they brought back Mike Williams, whether it was the draft where they drafted 4 or 5 offensive skill position players. Their big mission was, I cannot allow Justin Herbert to have another season where he doesn't have the proper support in the running game and weapons. Because last year it was Ladd McConkey and everybody else.
Yep.
And so that just could not happen again. So the Chargers made sure that it wouldn't happen again by not only bolstering the offensive line, bringing in Mekhi Becton, which that's a literal massive signing, as someone who covers Philadelphia
Yes.
sports would know intimately well. And he played extremely well for the Eagles last year, opening up some massive holes. And I think when you pair him on the right side with another gigantic man in Joe Alt, who's 6'8", 330. I think the vision is hey, we're gonna absolutely dominate guys on the right side of the line. We're gonna open up some massive holes for Najee Harris and our rookie running back Omarion Hampton. But it was also, hey, we need to get more help for Justin and more help for Ladd. So they go get Trey Harris, they get Mike Williams, they go get KLS, a guy they drafted later on in the draft who's got real speed. They get Aronde Gadsden, they go get Tyler Conklin. So they are going into this year loaded up on offense. They wanted to make sure that they were never put in that position again. And, one of the things Greg Roman, the Chargers offensive coordinator, said last year was, hey, imagine how good Justin Herbert would be with a good running game.
Right, exactly.
That never got a chance to actually happen.
Yeah.
So this year they were steadfast in making sure that changed, because they were already one of the best in the league in play action last year with a horrendous running game. Imagine if they have an actual good running game like the Philadelphia Eagles had last year. That's what the Chargers want to do. They want to be able to beat people up, run the ball, dominate the line of scrimmage, and then be able to take you over the top with the play action. So the entire vision of this offseason was trying to orchestrate that the way they wanted to this season.
They have a foundation offensively, and we're certainly going to talk about the defense in a little bit, but offensively, the foundation of the future, I think, as a fan of football, just somebody on the outside, is absolutely there for this Chargers team. So, but you did mention Justin Herbert. So let's get into him and the strides that he will need to make for this offense this coming season. I mean, last year, yes, he had a career low in terms of passing yards. Pro Football Focus actually ranked Justin Herbert as the number 8 starting quarterback coming into this season, David, and some feel that he was snubbed in terms of this rank. Look, he's still awaiting his first playoff win, which might be why he was ranked beneath guys like Matt Stafford, Jalen Hurts, and even Jaden Daniels. I'm wondering if this is kind of a, quote, prove it year for Justin Herbert. I hate to look at it that way because he's such a phenomenal talent, but a prove it year as he's looking to shake off that playoff narrative. And what does he need to do this season to take that next step here? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think a lot of people need to understand that last year Justin Herbert played through a high ankle sprain for most of the season.
Yeah.
Not even just a few games here and there. It was in almost the entire season that he had to navigate through that, and that changed the way that the Chargers had to call offense. I mean, right. Greg Roman was on the Chargers Weekly podcast and basically said, hey, we had to take a lot of the plays that we had out of the playbook and kind of tailor it to what Justin could do, because he was very, very limited mobility-wise. So I think one of the things Justin Herbert needs to, and obviously he got healthier throughout the season as it got closer to the end, but one of the things I definitely need to see from him this year is running with the football. He is an extremely good athlete, and I think we saw that in college, especially in the Rose Bowl, where he just was running wild. And he showcased it on a couple of different occasions in the NFL.
He's explosive.
He's very, very, he's 6'6", 240 pounds, runs like a gazelle. It's really ridiculous how unbelievably gifted he is. But when he sees those opportunities and there's not somebody there that's open, he needs to see that lane and take off. He needs to do that a lot more effectively this year. As a passer, there's really not much else that he can do. I mean, he had a career low in interceptions last year. He's deadly accurate. If he has that running game, I think it's going to be even more explosive from the play action standpoint.
Yeah.
But when he sees a seam, when he sees a lane and things are breaking down, he needs to use that athleticism to get forward, get some extra yards, throw on the run. I think we're going to see that a lot more, and even more by design this year, if we are able to have a healthy Justin Herbert, because last year we were not able to see the full kind of talent be able to unfold in front of our eyes because of the injuries. So hopefully if he's 100%, I think you're going to see the best version of him. And yes, the playoff moniker, it's going to hang over his head, fair or not. I hate it because it's a team game. No one player wins or loses any football game, but that's just what it is. And so until he's able to get that monkey off his back. And I like to remind everybody, there's a Hall of Fame quarterback by the name of Peyton Manning that didn't win a single playoff game his first 5 seasons in the NFL.
There you go.
Well, sounds pretty familiar because that's
Yep.
where Justin Herbert is exactly in his career as well. So going into this year, it's you see a lane, you got to go take it and take advantage of it, which I think is going to be able to remind people how much more dangerous he absolutely is if we're able to see the full breadth of his game.
Absolutely. Justin Herbert, he's not only dangerous with his arm, he's dangerous with his legs too. I can't wait to see how he's going to perform this season. But, you mentioned another gentleman on this team from the offensive perspective, David, that really carried the weight last year, and that's Ladd McConkey. I want to get into what type of wide receiver he is going to be, and I know you guys recently talked about it on the Locked On Chargers podcast this past week, how he's already a top 10 wide receiver in this league. There is pressure on him for sure coming into this season. Again, as he was basically the only source of the Chargers offense last year. But from a realistic and logical expectation standpoint, what do you think Ladd McConkey is going to be able to do this coming season, or should be able to do for this team? Again, realistic expectations for him. What are your thoughts?
I expect another 1,000+ yard receiving season from Ladd. And it's just because of the type of player that he is and the skill set he brings to the table that people just can't teach. He is a absolute route technician. If you're saying, hey, I need you to snap this route off at 8.5 yards, it's going to get snapped off at exactly 8.5 yards. Like, he just has that unbelievable ability to be able to be so precise in his movements. And he also just has a knack for being able to find the soft spots in the zone, be able to present himself as friendly to the quarterback, and he's underrated in his yards after catch ability. And also, for a smaller wide receiver, it's unbelievable how good he was in the contested catch situations. He's about 6 foot, maybe 6.5, depending on who you ask. But, his ability to go up and get the ball and really fight for being a smaller type of guy. And also, I just want to break the moniker of a slot receiver. He's not a slot receiver.
Right.
I fully expect that the Chargers will move him around all over the formation. And they did a little bit of it last year, late in the year, when they kind of found out the type of player that he is and what he is capable of doing. This year, there's no secrets. They know exactly what he is capable of doing, and I believe they are going to fully unleash him from the very beginning of the season. And he has a lot of help this year. It's not just Ladd McConkey anymore.
Right.
I already went through and documented and talked about all the extra weapons that the Chargers brought in. That also is going to help Ladd, because you're not going to be able to double team him all the time anymore, because there's other legitimate threats. Like, hey, you double Ladd McConkey. Okay, well, they have a jump ball demon on the outside by the name of Mike Williams, who has built-in chemistry with the quarterback, Justin Herbert.
Absolutely.
Because they have a laundry list of amazing plays that they've been able to put on tape just throughout their tenure together. And so I expect them to kind of pick things up where they left off. And they just have a lot more on the tight end position. Like, it's going to be a much different situation this year. And I think it's going to benefit Ladd. But Ladd's that type of guy that he's going to get his no matter what, because he's that good.
Remember it for fantasy football, folks, okay? It's going to be here before you know it. Fantasy football leagues. I'm in like 5 leagues. It's going to be here before we know it for sure.
Chaos, man.
It is chaos. Love it. Love it. Again, folks, we're talking to David Droegemeier from the Locked On Chargers podcast. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Where else can they find you out there, David, if they want to check out what you're doing, what your co-hosts are doing, where they can find you on the interwebs?
Yeah. So, I mean, you can definitely check us out on video as well. We are on YouTube. Our YouTube channel last year went over 1.6 million views, which is unbelievable.
Nice.
I could not expect to ever have that level of success. So, want to give a big shout out there to the Charger fans and all the other fans that came to hate watch it all. Contributes to what we're doing. But yeah, we're in off-season mode right now, the 1 month out of the year where we actually get to go down to 3 shows a week. But we are still going to be there. And if there's anything that's big that occurs, we will definitely be bringing you all of the best information that's going on with the Chargers. But yeah, check us out, Spotify, Apple Music, and of course on video on YouTube as well.
They do a great job over at the Locked On Chargers podcast, folks. And, we love the Locked On Network. We've got our friends at Locked On Eagles, Lou DiBiase, at Locked On Falcons. Last week, we had Aaron Freeman on. Love the Locked On Network. And if you are watching us for the first time on YouTube, you'll see our social media sites are up here. We're on Instagram. We are on Twitter. I'm over on TikTok at Mr. Jeff Warren. You can like our Facebook page as well. We're on Threads, and you can catch me over on Blue Sky as well. Just search Jeff Warren. You can find us there, and would highly recommend, if you're watching this on YouTube, to like and subscribe. We would very much appreciate that. But let's continue talking about this Chargers team and what we've seen this offseason, David, because, look, you talked about the foundational pieces being set for the future, and a lot of that is with regard to the revamped running game, and they're likely going to want to take some of that pressure off Justin Herbert and Lad McConkey, which we've been talking about. It's been a theme here about where the team is going to go. Najee Harris, Amari Hampton, these are two backs looking to make their mark in Los Angeles. So what are your thoughts about the differences that we're going to see this year with the rushing attack than what we saw last season? What are your thoughts here?
Well, I think with the running backs, and not just the running backs, but the type of players that the Chargers wanted to bring into their building, they subscribe to the TED logic, which means there every day. They want guys that are durable. They want guys that are able to show up and actually contribute, because as we saw with Joey Bosa throughout his tenure with the Chargers, it does not matter how incredibly talented you are if that talent never manifests itself on the football field, being able to play snaps for your team. So that's why you go get a Najee Harris, who has 4 years in the NFL and has 4 straight 1,000-yard rushing seasons. Yeah, it's 4 yards a carry, but it's very consistent. And he is that type of running back that screams Jim Harbaugh style. He wants to run you over. He wants to run through you. He wants to get those hard, tough, physical rushing yards. And I think with Amari Hampton, he has a lot of that too, but he's a little more explosive. I think he has the ability to take it the distance. So I think you're going to see a lot of that this year. They're going to run the ball a lot more, and they're going to run the ball a lot more effectively. I think that's why they go get a Mekhi Becton, as I mentioned earlier, a guy that can really open up some holes and really get a running game to support Justin Herbert, because that's a big part of it too. You got to take some pressure off him. You got to give him ability. And also, just in general, you look at the best offenses in the NFL year over year over year. It's the teams that can run the ball at will whenever they want. And to close out football games, they can shorten the game. They can shorten the down and distance, and they can put their foot on their opponent's throat, and they can suffocate them. They drag them into the deep water, and then they drown them with the running game. That's what Jim Harbaugh wants to do. He was not able to do it last year with the personnel he had in the building. It was a huge point of emphasis to make sure that they had the personnel to be able to do it this year. That's why you go spend a luxury pick on a first-round running back, which, I'm not a huge fan of just from a philosophical standpoint. But when you look at what Amari Hampton did in college, it's 2 back-to-back 1,500-plus rushing yard seasons to go with 15-plus touchdowns in both of those seasons from a rushing and receiving standpoint.
Yes. It's beyond impressive. It really is. Like, I see, like, Najee, I'm glad you mentioned the type of players these guys are. Najee Harris, I have seen a lot of him over the years being here in Pennsylvania. And, there's a lot of Steelers games on. Not an explosive player, but the consistency there time and time again. Amari Hampton, he is the explosiveness that this team is absolutely going to need. And I think when it comes to the running game, you talked about play action as well. These are two players that are really going to help this offense in more ways than one. It's going to be real interesting to watch for sure. But we got to talk about the defense here, because the Chargers produced one of the league's top defenses last season. They finished first in points allowed per game at 17.7 points. Absolutely incredible. They were fantastic in the red zone in terms of giving up points. So, David, where do you see the defense going here during this 2025 season? Much of the same, or might they actually be more dominant?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult this year. Just looking at the schedule, they're going to play 9 of their 17 games against playoff teams from last year. And so it's not you're going to be your New Orleans Saints and your New York Giants. It's not going to be those weaker teams with the weaker quarterbacks littered throughout your schedule this year. This year, you made the playoffs, and that obviously has a direct reflection on what your schedule is this year, which it's going to be a lot more difficult. Now, the Chargers have a great defense. And I think the reason why they do is because they have stalwart type players at every level of their defense. On their defensive line, they have a future Hall of Famer, and a first ballot Hall of Famer with Khalil Mack.
Yep.
Then in the middle, they have a budding superstar in Deion Henley, who I think is going to have an all-pro year this year. If he's on the field, he can do it all from the linebacker position. Him and Derwin James absolutely shut down tight ends last year. They could do nothing against the Chargers, and it is because of those two men almost exclusively. And I think that's really unheard of when you think about a linebacker, because most of them just can't cover very well. It's just
right.
a fact of the game. You look at their, and I do notes every single week whenever we go and play the whatever the Chargers opponents are. I look at the linebacker stats, and it's routinely 85, 90% reception percentage allowed. That's not the case with Deion Henley. He has that ability to really shut down opposing tight ends and, be a real weapon in pass coverage. So I expect some big things. And then, of course, you have the all-pro, and I just mentioned with Derwin James, who is a monster on the back end, who they really kind of used closer to the line of scrimmage last year because of his ability to really affect the quarterback, and really, he's probably the best rushing safety in the NFL, in my opinion. He blows up running. Do not disrespect Derwin James by trying to block him with a running back. He routinely runs those guys over. It is not pretty. It's a car crash, and he wins every single time. So I think they're going to be good. I can still see them sitting around that top 10 area because of the talent that they have, but it's going to be a much different situation this year. They're going to be tested. They have a laundry list of superstar wide receivers they're going to have to contend with. I do love the good young second-year corners they have with Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart on the outside. I think they have really good players at every level, but they're going to be truly tested this year with the quarterbacks and the receivers they're going to have to defend on their schedule.
They definitely have some talent that's continuing to develop, for sure. Like you said, the cornerback position, going to be very interesting to see where they go this year with their development. But David, before I let you go, buddy, I want to talk about what could potentially be the X factor on this Chargers team. There always seems to be an X factor for certain teams every year, and those X factors, they could just come out of nowhere. Take, for instance, Philadelphia Eagles. They signed Zach Bond to a one-year deal before the 2024 season started, thinking, okay, he's going to be a contributor on special teams, and that'll probably be about it. We need a good guy on special teams. And then he turns out to be one of the best linebackers in the NFL. He gets a long-term deal after winning the Super Bowl.
Good for him, too.
Yeah, I know. God bless him. What do you see the X factor being possibly this coming season for the Chargers?
Yeah, I think a kind of a sneaky under-the-radar signing. I mentioned him earlier that I think a lot of people are not paying a lot of attention to. That's tight end Tyler Conklin. I think Tyler Conklin can absolutely be that X factor for the Chargers because he's a complete tight end. Very, very quietly, he has played pretty much 16 games, 17 games every single season. And also, one of my absolute favorite stats about him is last two seasons combined, 150 targets, one drop.
Dang, one drop.
He has incredible hands, and he just doesn't miss time. I think he's going to be a real weapon. He has never played with a quarterback the caliber of Justin Herbert. His best season, believe it or not, was with Zach Wilson throwing him the football for most of that season. So you pair him with Justin Herbert, my goodness. I think this is a guy who has not been really given the best opportunity to shine. I think he's going to be given that opportunity. I think he's going to be that primary pass catching tight end. Last year they had, their blocking tight end mostly step out of his shell and do some things that he really wasn't accustomed to or was expected to do for the Chargers last year. And so they really thought Hayden Hurst was going to be that main guy, that main receiving threat, and he just was not a factor. He was a non-factor.
Yeah.
He couldn't stay on the field with the injuries, and so they overextended their run blocking tight end, which he played admirably But this year, Tyler Conklin's going to step in. I think he's going to make a big impact for the Chargers offense. I can't wait to see this surprise on a lot of people's faces when he performs well this year.
I can't wait to see what's going to happen with the Los Angeles Chargers this coming season. They again, a team to be reckoned with, I think. So, again, David Droegemeier from the Locked On Chargers podcast. Again, throw out those promos, David. Let's get some people following you even more out there.
Thank you. Yeah, first and foremost, you can follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you like to call it, at DroTalkSD. I am covering the Chargers all year. This is actually year 10 for me covering the Chargers, and year 8 for me on the Locked On Podcast Network with my fantastic partner, Daniel Wade. You can also follow him on Twitter as well at Dan Talk Sports. He is fantastic. He's our kind of the conductor. He's the play-by-play guy, and I'm the color commentator, but I think we have a very, very good dynamic. We do a really good show. If you want to know what's going on with the Chargers, please check us out. Also on our Twitter page at LockedOnLAC, and wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Music, Spotify, and of course on video on our YouTube channel at the Locked On Chargers podcast.
Locked On Chargers, great podcast, folks. And David, thank you so much again, buddy. Really appreciate it. Come back and join us down the road. I'd love to have you back on.
You send me an email and tell me when, and I'll be there, brother.